Indigenous life form. Production complete.
A lot of people call Alpha Centauri one of the greatest, if not the greatest sci-fi 4X game. Considering that they're still saying that 20 years later, something went very right. Namely the mysterious setting, the interesting characters, the hard science fiction elements, all wrapped together in a really fun game. That said, it's far from perfect. The good news is that the GOG version will run right out of the box store without any compatibility issues. There are still a few things you could fix up on your own. The game still has some bugs and issues, and there are some unofficial patches out there. The Scient V2 patch is the most comprehensive both for the base game and the expansion. The game also won't be running in widescreen. I'm usually okay with this, but it does feel restrictive for a strategy game. More importantly, as a video editor it can cause clip issues. You could get widescreen by adding a direct draw line to the config file, but there's an even better way. Download PracX. It does more than make your game widescreen. It adds better mouse scrolling and zoom levels, and also adds some nice quality of life features. If you're used to features like being able to easily display territory, showing resources on tiles, elevation levels, and stuff like that, well, the game has none of those. This helps it not feel like cookie clicker. So now the game is ready to go, and so am I. There are some scenario maps, though I didn't find them to be that compelling. If I wanted to see China fight over ocean rocks, I could watch the news. You'll find the heart of Alpha Centauri in its regular skirmish mode. You've got 7 unique factions to choose from and a pile of rules to customize. For example, if you don't like blind research, you can flip that off. Because blind research is like hoping you get a car, but then you end up covered in worms. Then the game begins.
Turn complete.
These controls may take you a while to adjust to. Groundbreaking ideas like click to move were still pretty conceptual back then. You can click and drag to move, or the drop-down menu. This is a little archaic, but the rest of the UI, oh fuck. The story of Alpha Centauri kicks off in 2060. The entire planet has been zoned by pollution and war, so the UN decides to just start over. So their best and brightest, along with a few thousand colonists, are sent aboard the Unity spacecraft off to Alpha Centauri. When they're almost there at the end of their half-century journey, the ship starts to break down. The reactor and the communications are knocked out, the captain is assassinated, and it takes 7 leaders to bring everyone back together. They're now arguing about the future of the planet, so they decide to divide up into 7 groups with 7 groups of colonists based on their ideology. Everyone is scattered. The planet is littered with parts of the spacecraft and the supplies from it. A fresh start. So will humanity learn from its history and make a new, better world? Or instantly break every ethical boundary we know of and some we haven't thought of yet? Well, it could go a lot of ways, but I guess we'll see. Like any 4X game, you'll need to build and explore the landscape. Except there are signs an advanced alien civilization was once here. And other aliens are also currently here. For reasons you don't yet understand, they hate all sentient life, along with the Irish. They live in a horrible fungus that slows down movement and can pop up at any time. Planet is alive, and wants you not to be. So the game is also about overcoming an alien environment, whether by conquering it or maybe achieving a deeper understanding of it. All while the most extreme human ideologies are fighting for control of it. It's a great setup. Sure, the environment is alien, but the interactions are all too human. So let's talk about the presentation. There's a lot that helps the game stand out, though probably not in a way you'd expect.
Hey! Get off my land, you peacekeeping son of a...
I plan to live forever, of course. But barring that, I'd settle for a couple thousand years. Even 500 would be pretty nice. CEO Nwabuda K. Morgan. Morgan Link 3D Vision interview.
Being a 2-decade-old game, yeah, the visuals are dated. There's no secret graphical technique they used or anything like that that makes it hold up this time around. As a strategy game of its era, though, it's pretty good. The planet's environment doesn't have a huge variety, but they made do with what they had. Besides the regular terrain, there are a few unique landmarks, and they might change depending on your playthrough. Once you're accustomed to it, the map is easily readable. Most of the time. As the game goes on, it can start turning into a nightmare. It's only when tiles and units start to get heavily clustered up, which is honestly inevitable by the late game, but the rest of it is fine. However, the unit designer is a cool aspect. Not only do the units have custom stats and abilities, but their appearance changes based on the equipment you use. I find it really engaging, finding a new piece of equipment to slap on a unit and then seeing how it does. These are simple adjustments that add up, and your army feels more unique from it. Another big draw comes from the secret projects. All of them come with cutscenes. Not only do they reinforce how significant these things are, but they come with a voiceover from one of the leaders. So not only do you get to see the project in action, you also get to learn more about one of the characters. In fact, every technology comes with a character voiceover. So once again, you're getting more insight into how the galactic players think.
Its inventors promise a new era of genius, but meanwhile unscrupulous power brokers use its forcible installation to violate the sanctity of unwilling human minds. They are creating their own private army of demons.
We pruned you, as we may yet prune your branches.
The voiceovers are also the best part of the game's sound. Everything outside the voiceovers is forgettable, like the ambient music.
Turn complete. Production complete. Turn complete. Production complete.
It's not grating, but half the time I thought it was an in-game sound effect going on. The cutscenes are better in that regard, like the Dream Twister. Anyway, let's get on to the gameplay. Managing the Empire is more than just creating roads and buildings. You also need to manage your ethics and government while also keeping your population happy. What's cool is Alpha Centauri usually has multiple avenues of solving a problem. You could stop a riot by making a new building, or you can make a tile improvement, manage the workers, or maybe there's a technology. Then again, you could nerve staple the population. Of course, your neighbors consider that an atrocity. Even some buildings, while efficient, could cause damage to the climate. First, your reckless development pisses off the wildlife, and oops, it looks like the ice caps are melting. The actual game map can start turning to a hellscape as the oceans rise and cities just fall into the abyss. A world council might be formed to stop these issues. Volcanoes can erupt, earthquakes can change the landscape, and it goes to show just how far Alpha Centauri is willing to go to make the planet as much of a character as the factions. While other 4X games can let you turtle without consequences, Alpha Centauri isn't about that. Your actions affect your neighbors and the planet. Maybe you want to keep to yourself, but an ideological rival just hates the fact you exist. Playing as a scientist Sahara with great research bonuses and no ethics is fun, but the Luddite Miriam might not like that, so conflict is inevitable. Picking a faction doesn't just determine your bonuses, but who your rivals will be, what ethics you can choose. You can still break the mold, but it's gonna be harder. The diplomacy has so much flavor text and personality that even though you play different factions and most options are really the same, it still feels different. You can conspire against enemies, trade data, trade maps. You can build probe units to spy on your neighbors and commit false flag attacks. There's so much intrigue, you have so many options. For example, everyone hates atrocities, unless they repeal them. Most everyone will declare war on you, but what if they can't? Say, if a sunspot knocks out global communications. Well, it's time to break out the nerve gas and nuclear missiles because the offensive against the Yang Gang has begun. Keeping in line with everything else, these missiles don't just destroy the city, but also the landscape around it. Sometimes you whack them so hard they actually have to rename an entire region or lake. So weapons of mass destruction earn their name. What makes the conflict so interesting is that the game doesn't treat any faction like they're just the evil one. Everyone gets their fair shake. Someone like Miriam comes off as a religious fanatic.
You are trampling the garden of an angry god.
But then her quotes start reappearing in later technologies and secret projects. You can invent a self-aware colony to police itself, and that's a great boost to your stats, but then the cutscene plays for it.
We must descend. Descend. We must descend. We must descend. Will we next create false gods to rule over us? How proud we have become, and how blind. Sister Miriam Godwinson, we must descend.
Huh. Maybe we should hold back on some things. Even an authoritarian collectivist nightmare like the human hive makes a good point. Maybe you need to take an extreme position like that to survive on the planet. Acting as an individual scattered everyone in the first place. Maybe Gaia's stepdaughters are right. Instead of fighting the planet, we should embrace it. Understand and work with the native life. Maybe the planet life is apex existence and we should just merge with it. Maybe only the strong should survive. Maybe everyone can make it. Maybe Miriam will stop talking shit. The planet is an interesting character. The people are interesting characters. The environment and all the factions make you care about the setting. There's so many fights that come out of it and so many ways to do it. What else can I say? There's a reason this game is still so loved. The biggest hurdle is the user interface and controls. They're not the worst thing on earth, but when you've been spoiled by more recent games, it's hard to go back. Drag movement is something you could get used to quickly, but stuff you're used to seeing at a glance you'll have to find in a menu. Learning all the hotkeys is mandatory if you want to stay sane. There's a lot to learn, and while the game does try to help you out, it's still a fairly steep learning curve. You won't always know where you're going for the first few games, and that's fine. If you're really having trouble, you can even automate cities. Even if you forget to do something, the city won't. The AI is somewhat competent. I think this could do great with a remaster, even if all they do is rework the UI and add some widescreen support. Some people have made elaborate mock-ups of it having a better UI, so there's definitely some demand. That said, there is an expansion. There are 7 new factions, and these include 2 new alien factions, along with new buildings, technologies, units, and factions. All the good stuff you expect from an expansion. While at best the new factions are pretty bland and forgettable, at worst they're ridiculously overpowered. Even the aliens are disappointing. While the aliens look neat and they have their own goals, they're not that different from playing a human faction. Really, the most interesting thing about them is their writing, which is still more surface level compared to the original factions. You can try them if you're curious, but I didn't find a lot to them. However, you can still play a game with all the original factions and the new stuff, or make a brand new faction with an elaborate faction maker. So it's still well worth it, and GOG sells them together anyways. I did try every method I could to get the multiplayer working, but it didn't happen, until YouTuber Spicy Chicken God and friends found a way to do it. So now you can compete with your friends in making the worst dystopia you can think of. I'll pin the instructions below. Thank you for your service, Spicy. So that's the video, and wait a minute, who's typing that comment? This game has a spiritual successor? What? No it doesn't. Oh, are you talking about this game? I've got time, and I've been waiting a while for this again. Don't worry, I'll make it quick and explain why no one plays it. Compared to Alpha Centauri, Beyond Earth is gorgeous. It has fantastic music and intuitive UI, and the landscape is beautiful. Not to mention it's easy to control and play. Now what's worse is, everything else. All the technologies are simplified to be more like Civ 5, except their order's nonsensical. You don't need computers to get robots. Okay, that's a nitpick, but Alpha Centauri wasn't afraid to wear its hard sci-fi elements on its sleeve. Yeah, this looks like Unit Designer, but when you click it, it's just an upgrade choice. 2 options per level, but they look more distinct. The native life looks way better than Alpha Centauri, since, you know, they were just squiggles and dots and stuff. But they were like the blood cells in a big life form that would talk to the player. It was a character. So the squiggles ended up being more interesting than even the biggest Thresher Maw. Even the name of the expansion, Rising Tide, was just a trick. There's no ecological damage, pollution, climate change, rising sea levels. Yeah, Rising Tide where the tide doesn't actually rise. It added new aliens and water cities, something the first game had. All the thinking on how you'd affect the planet is gone now. The big choice is, do you shoot an alien in the face or not all the time? After that, do you like robots or Warhammer more? And then we have the factions, the characters.
Bienvenido.
你好.
Hello there. Good to see you again.
Iberia vous accueille chaleureusement.
I'm open to the possibilities. What's ours is yours. For a price.
These aren't characters, they're mannequins. They can be any affinity, so their clothes can change. They have no soul. Everyone is refined and polite and cardboard. All the conflicts are decided by what colored action figures you picked. Everyone is from a really clean, polite, refined, perfect future. It's hard to imagine any of them fighting or doing anything. There's even some more superficial picks, like in Alpha Centauri, the leader of the Spartan faction was Brazilian. So our Brazil will have a military uniform, and he'll, I don't know, get a combat bonus? You have all these genders and ethnicities and countries, but I don't remember anybody. They didn't do anything. What does Samatar Beret believe in? Maybe it's buried in the lore that the game doesn't reflect.
Of course we'll bundle our MorganNet software with the new network nodes. Our customers expect no less of us. We have never sought to become a monopoly. Our products are simply so good that no one feels the need to compete with us.
The African people greet you.
And what of the immortal soul in such transactions? Can this machine transmit and reattach it as well? Or is it lost forever, leaving a soulless body to wander the world in despair?
I love computers because they automate the tedious stuff and give us more time for important things like market manipulation.
Fuck it.
Please don't go. The drones need you. They look up to you.
That's so true.
A big thanks to everybody making this possible, and as always, there's time for some questions. Are you going to review Overlord 2? If I do, it won't be for a while. I played a bit of it, I think, on 360, but I actually didn't get that far in. I've had people tell me it's better than the first game, though. What's the backstory with the name and the night picture? I honestly don't remember where the name came from. I found out later it was from Star Wars, but I couldn't tell you where I first heard it and said, yeah, I'll use that. As for the picture, I didn't want something abstract, and I didn't want like an animated picture of me, because whenever you see those, the person is always more goblin-like than the picture, which, it's inevitable. I had a book for one of my courses on my desk though, and I looked at it and I saw, I think it was a joust on it, and I went, oh, that'll work. When's the next adventure game stream? Soon. Who's your favorite god from Warhammer? If you mean fantasy, I guess Sigmar? Or maybe that one Imperial general who killed all those Skaven? For 40k, I guess it would be... Gork. Okay. I'll see you next time. I'm gonna buy it.